I would like to yield to the ranking member, Mr. Graves, for any opening remarks.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to just start by congratulating you and your staff, your team, for getting us to this point in the process. I think we all on this committee, we know how hard it is to put an appropriations bill together. I also know how much harder this process has been because of the current pandemic. Though we've adapted quickly, social distancing and a lack of regular in-person meetings has presented new challenges for all of us over the last few months. With that perspective, and in my last appropriations cycle in the House, I just have great appreciation for the work that's been done here today, Mr. Chairman. Recognizing that in this bill, there are many areas that we do have agreement. There unfortunately are many more areas that we don't at this point in time. And so I know this is just a starting point for us here, and I look forward to working with you in the days ahead as we reach a conclusion as we go through the process. But today I did want to take a moment and thank you for a lot of the priorities that you included for our members, for the Republican members. And you've addressed many bipartisan priorities that we had an interest in, such as helping small business owners recover from the ongoing pandemic, enforcing sanctions programs against our foreign enemies, and supporting funding for and enforcement of the high-intensity drug trafficking areas program in districts all across our nation that need it the most. In my remaining months in Congress, one of my policy items that I just continue to be passionate about is the importance of strong cybersecurity, especially as we've seen with our workforce being disrupted and displaced as a result of the pandemic. This means building secure networks in order to prevent foreign state-owned enterprises from accessing our data and conducting surveillance of all Americans like you, me, our constituents, and their families. It means preventing international cyber criminals from accessing our financial markets and making sure that all of our connected devices meet an industry standard of security before they enter our homes and hook up to our Wi-Fi. These are many of the priorities, Mr. Chairman, that you've included, and we're grateful for that. We think this is a great area of bipartisan agreement and importance. But as my role in the Vice Chair of the Select Committee on the Modernization of Congress, I've also come to appreciate the importance of having forward-thinking modern government. And this means empowering federal agencies to use cloud technologies. It's important that our workforce can be accessible anywhere, but it's also important to keep that workforce and its data safe from malicious online actors. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm grateful for you, your team, for including many of these priorities in this year's bill and working with me to include some additional language as we move into full committee later next week. But I also want to thank you for being an amazing, gracious, and thoughtful partner here on the committee over the last few years. We've had a chance to run this subcommittee both in different time periods, and I've always valued our joint commitment to bipartisan solutions and thoughtful policy making. I'm confident that as this process moves forward, we can continue working together to find bipartisan agreement in the items that matter most to all of us. And in fact, Mr. Chairman, I know this is one committee I've been on the entirety of my time here on the Appropriations Committee, of which the Appropriations Committee is the only standing committee I've ever served on. So this has a special place of importance for me. So before I yield back, I want to recognize as well and thank Chairman Serrano for his years of service, not only to his constituents, but to this subcommittee as the founding chairman. That was new information to me that I didn't know, that when this committee was created, he was the very first chairman. And in fact, he would have been the first ranking member on the committee when I joined the committee. I've served under Ms. Emerson, Joanne Emerson, and then Andrew Crenshaw, and then myself. We all have a legacy we follow, but you follow a great one, and that's Mr. Jose Serrano, who, while the title I know is nice to hear, chairman, he always just enjoys being called Jose. Have you noticed that? That's what he values the most, is that personal friendship, and I appreciate how he has been a dear friend to me. He's been great to work with, and he's been a great advisor to me as I took over the gavel on our side a few years ago. But I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've been amazing to work with, and I look forward to continuing this process out with you and having a good time as we do it. With that, I'll yield back.
I thank